A financial planner recently spent 5 years quietly studying two very different groups of people. On one side, we have 233 self-made millionaires. On the other side, 128 folks who are financially struggling. The researchers tracked what these individuals actually did, day in and day out. And you know what the most fascinating twist was? The biggest difference between the two groups wasn't their income. And it definitely wasn't luck. It literally all came down to habits. So, welcome to this explainer. Let's dive right into the actual data behind wealth building.
Look, we so often fall for this myth that a high salary automatically equals wealth, right? And that a lower salary just permanently traps you in a paycheck-to-paycheck cycle. But the research completely shatters that illusion. The reality is, the people building real wealth are simply applying a completely different behavioral framework to their money than those who stay broke.
And honestly, the best part of all this? The key to bridging that gap comes down to exactly 5 behavioral habits. That's it, just 5. And every single one of them is something you could literally start doing tomorrow morning, absolutely regardless of what you're currently earning.
So here's our roadmap for today's explainer. We're going to cover 1. Automate your savings habit. 2. Make compounding work for you. 3. Avoid the lifestyle creep. 4. Build multiple income streams. 5. Play the long game. And finally, 6. The one practical takeaway.
Okay, moving to section 1. Automate your savings habit. So this first habit, this is the foundational behavior that separates the wealthy from the financially stuck. The researchers found that the biggest gap wasn't how much people were spending on, morning coffees or avocado toast. It was this massive savings gap. Wealth builders averaged a savings rate of 18 to 30% of their income. Meanwhile, the general population, they averaged just 3 to 5%.
And to really put that into perspective, let's look at the brutal math over time. Say two people have the exact same salary, $50,000, for their entire 30-year career. The wealth builder saves 20% and ends up with roughly $1.2 million, assuming average market returns. The person in the general public saves 5% and ends up with about $300,000. Think about that. It's the exact same income, yet a 4 times greater outcome. The whole shebang literally comes down to one single decision, repeated every month.
So how do they actually ensure they hit that 20%? Well, the mechanism is almost boringly simple. Paycheck arrives, money gets auto-transferred to savings immediately, and then they live on the rest. Wealth builders don't sit down at the end of the month and debate whether they want to save. They treat their savings like a non-negotiable bill, exactly like paying rent. People who stay broke usually do it backwards. They pay every bill, buy what they want, and then try to save whatever's left, which, let's be real, is usually nothing.
Section 2. Make compounding work for you.
This habit is all about shifting from just building savings to actively defending your money. Compounding is just math, right? It can act as a massive multiplier for your investments or a rapid destroyer when it's attached to high-interest debt. The math works exactly the same way. The only difference is which direction the weapon is pointed. When you invest, compounding builds your wealth. But when you carry a 20% plus credit card balance, compounding is quietly destroying your wealth month after month.
And the craziest part is, this isn't some rare or abstract problem. A recent report found a terrifying statistic. 29% of Americans currently have more credit card debt than they do in emergency savings. No way, right? But it's true, and it's a genuinely dangerous combination. It means nearly a third of people are paying incredibly expensive interest with one hand while having absolutely zero cash cushion in the other hand for when an emergency actually hits. Wealth builders are ruthless about eliminating high-interest consumer debt because they know for a fact that no investment return is ever going to outpace a 20% penalty.
Let's move to Section 3. Avoid the lifestyle creep.
This one is all about the psychological traps we fall into when our paychecks finally start to go up. I absolutely love this quote. Income is what you earn, wealth is what you keep. It hits the nail on the head, but it's a distinction that gets missed constantly. The famous research popularized in The Millionaire Next Door found that plenty of high earners, people with these huge paychecks and massive houses, actually have surprisingly little net worth. Why? Simply because they spend everything they make just to look rich.
The massive trap here is called lifestyle creep. It's that completely natural tendency to automatically increase your spending the second your income increases. If you live strictly below your income, well, you might still just be spending right up to the limit of your brand new raise. Your actual savings rate, it never improves. But wealth builders deliberately live below their means. When they get a raise, they bump up their savings rate, not just their budget for a nicer car.
Section 4. Build multiple income streams.
Okay, so you've protected your money. Now how do you accelerate it? The research on self-made millionaires found that a whole lot of them had built at least 3 separate income streams before they even reached their first $1 million. And these can be totally achievable. We're talking a primary job, dividends from investments, maybe rental income, a side business, or royalties from creative work. You really don't need a massive corporation. It can literally just be a monetized hobby or some freelance work you're already good at.
But here's the thing. The true value of multiple income streams isn't just the extra cash. It's risk protection. People who depend entirely on a single employer are fully exposed if that job just disappears due to layoffs or illness or an industry downturn. If you have multiple streams and one slows down, well, you aren't starting from zero. It's about building that crucial habit of not relying on exactly one source to survive.
Section 5. Play the long game. All right, now for the overarching habit that acts as the ultimate multiplier for everything we've just talked about. Are you ready for a slightly anticlimactic truth? 28. That is the average number of years it took participants in this 5-year study to actually reach millionaire status. 28 years, not a lucky crypto trade, not some viral stock pick. It took nearly 3 decades of consistently doing boring things really, really well.
Honestly, the investing part of building wealth is surprisingly dull. And it should be. Wealth builders overwhelmingly favor simple, low-cost index funds held through market ups and downs for decades. They don't try to find the next big thing. On the flip side, people with a broke mindset often chase whatever viral meme stock or crypto dog coin is currently trending on social media. They look for quick wins and then they just give up by year 3 when it doesn't instantly make them rich. Real wealth building is just a boring decision repeated hundreds of times.
Section 6. The one practical takeaway.
So how do we actually tie all of this together into a system you can start using today? Here is your complete playbook. 1. Automate your savings so it's a fixed habit, not some monthly decision. 2. Attack high-interest debt so compounding works for you, not against you. 3. Live below your means to completely avoid that lifestyle creep. 4. Build multiple income streams for true financial resilience. And 5. Commit to the long, unglamorous game of boring investing. Remember, time plus consistent automated behavior equals wealth. It doesn't require a 6-figure income, it just requires starting today.
Which brings us to the final and definitely the most important question of this entire explainer. Which habit are you missing? Seriously, be honest with yourself for a second. Are you carrying credit card debt while buying things you don't really need? Are you relying on just one paycheck? I want you to take a moment and reflect on this, because acknowledging your weakest link is the very first step to changing your financial trajectory forever. So start today with whatever percentage you can comfortably sustain and just let time do the heavy lift.